So, folks, we gotta talk a little bit about Brett Cooper. What's she been up to lately? Well, she has a new episode out. I guess like a few days ago. Her output has decreased. She's going through some stuff with her family, and that's totally understandable. You know, sometimes you have kids. But that being said, let's see what her big problem of the day is.
That you and I have the unique opportunity, the privilege to solve one of the biggest crises facing young Americans. And it has nothing to do with policy, nothing to do with elections, nothing to do with legislation, honestly, nothing to do with the culture war. All you have to do is throw a party. Now, before we talk about why you need to be throwing a party this weekend and then telling me about it, make sure that you like this video and subscribe to our
Brett Cooper, is she a trans right-wing influencer? No, she's just a right-wing influencer.
It must be tough for Abby. Congratulations, Femme Shapiro.
She's really made it.
channel if you've not already. And of course, if you want to stay updated on everything we're doing on the channel, make sure to ring that notification bell. Also, if you want behind the scenes content, farm vlogs, all of that sort of thing, we literally built.
Oh, also Reservoir, thank you very much for the raid. Appreciate it. Folks, go check out their stuff. And also, welcome raiders.
Entire subscription platform just for you guys. It is called cooperconfidential.com. Go check it out. Nobody can kick us off. Nobody can tell me what I can or cannot say or post on that platform, which is very important in the age of censorship. And I'm not exactly sure which one. Feels like it's probably some John Hughes thing. I have no idea. I'm gonna have people who are older than me jumping down my throat for this. I know, but anyway, he posts this screenshot and says, I love 90s and 2000s movies so much, and all of these teen movies have one of these big party scenes, and they look so fun. I'm Gen Z. And I've never been to anything like this. So was this a thing that just doesn't happen anymore, or is it just Hollywood trying to make me hate my life more? Like,
do house parties still happen? Oh boy.
damn, I know that when that post hit that subreddit he made, all of those Redditors feel old.
I don't know how to feel about her right-wing quirky Chungus energy. Just understand her as a failed theater kid. It explains a lot.
But this is such a valid question coming from my generation. One person said, yep, and we'd actually talk to each other. Unlike now where kids just send each other those stupid Tic Tacs and listen to WhatsApp Ricky or whatever the F he's called. But the Gen Zer who asked that—
But house parties still happen. They didn't stop. Conservatives are just not fun at those kinds of parties. Oh boy, okay.
That question was far from the only person in that subreddit who had the same query. Somebody else said,
I'm in my Young Republicans group on campus, and I haven't been invited to one of these parties. Can you explain to me why I haven't been? Do they still happen, or am I lame? No. It must be because you're certainly not lame because of your conservative beliefs and values that lead you to ostracize others and rebuff any attempt to get to know you or be friendly with you. No. You're not the problem. It's everyone else who's wrong.
these were the teen adult years that I was promised as a child watching movies and TVs. We used to be a proper country that knew how to party together. Somebody else said, damn, these comments be weird. I mean, really? Who would sacrifice their house like this? Like, it is such a foreign concept that somebody in my generation cannot even fathom inviting people over, throwing a rager, all that jazz.
People of my generation can't even imagine inviting people into their own homes. Can you imagine inviting people to your home for some kind of celebration with music and beverages and food? The horror. How provincial. Like, genuinely, like, you can't imagine that? That's weird.
Now, I will say, as a disclaimer, I never threw a big house party. I never threw a rager. I was far too much of a goody two-shoes, way too close with my mother. And I also had just a ginormous stick up my ass because I actually got my older brother in trouble for throwing a house party like this. I was like Nancy Drew on the case. I was like, why is there a whistle in my room? Why is my strawberry plant that I spent all spring working on, why is it mysteriously gone and I see fragments of the pot strewn about the patio? It was because somebody got—
That doesn't sound like it takes that much mystery solving. Actually, stuff was moved around and your things were broken? Weird.
drunk and threw it off the patio. That's why. Anyway, sorry, Reed. Love you. I hate that I got you in trouble. But anyway, my generation was not throwing these types of parties. Now, we have talked about this loneliness epidemic, obviously, a lot on the show, a lot on comment section. It is something that I care a lot about, but I do want to put some numbers to it today because I think it's important and it is genuinely shocking. So, between 2003 and 2024, so the last 20 years, time spent attending or hosting social events dropped 50% among Americans 15 and older. Now, for the youngest Americans, ages 15 to 24, these are like prime socialization years, prime house parties, frat parties, college.
You know, I'm going to throw an idea out there. They might have had to go to work, you know, so they can continue to live.
Parties, game nights with your friends, whatever it is. The decline was 69%. That is like almost a 70% drop, 70% fewer social gatherings. And face-to-face socialization of any kind, not even an organized party, has dropped 35% for that same age group. Again, we have discussed this at length before, so I want to reiterate that there are some.
Hey, how's it going, Anthony? I just watched your video about Shadiversity's book, and it was a really fun breakdown. Folks should go check that out. As well, I've also been in bits listening to your review of Wendigoon's take on the Inferno, which has been very fun. And yes, I am still awake.
Forces at play before I go into blaming all of us for this issue, but I will obviously talk about the content.
I also learned that I was definitely pronouncing your name wrong, but I forgot the proper pronunciation, so I'm not going to say your last name until I figure it out again. All right.
Next here, obviously the first is COVID-19. Like during our most crucial developmental social time, we were forced to isolate for almost 2 years. Like my entire college experience was cut short. I was in my sorority for all of like 6 months before all of our events turned online. And obviously that had an impact on high schoolers and prom and parties and starting their college experience, all of that. So obviously we all turned to the internet, which was already a problem for our generation. We had been raised online. I mean, every study that is done on the internet, that is done on social media says that it is a bad thing, especially for developing minds, and yet that is where we landed.
Yeah, I can't wait to learn how this is not capitalism's fault, and instead how it's, I don't know, trans people. Like, what is her reasoning gonna be? Is her reasoning gonna be like, you know, COVID stunted everyone, and then the transgenders made it hard to tell who to smooch? Like, what? I am wondering what her angle is gonna be here.
And hand in hand with COVID, that helped drive a digital replacement for socializing. But something else that we do not often touch on is how our culture has become obsessed with isolation, glamorizing isolation, you know, focusing on self-care and ourselves versus building community. We meme daily about canceling plans and not wanting.
Yeah, oh God.
Imagine the horror of dealing with isolation in an era without FaceTime. Must have been tough.
Right? Like, everyone's glamorizing isolation as if, you know, Walden doesn't exist. As if, like, yeah, people of the past, they weren't busy with all of their appointments and such. No, sir. It's, you just need to restore some of that hustle culture to your fun receptors. This feels really dumb. And I'm glad that we saved this one for last. Wait, so self-care is bad? Yeah, correct. You should never take care of yourself. Focus on building community, but not too much community because that might be communism.
Hang out with people, staying in, doom scrolling, sending your friends 1,600 Instagram reels before 9 p.m. at night, watching Netflix, whatever it is. In a great Reason magazine article, author Emma Camp touched on all of this. She wrote, "For years, popular culture has been permeated with a deeply anti-party sentiment, an attitude that framed those eager to socialize as obnoxious and valorized staying home alone. During my 2010s teenhood, BuzzFeed listicles and viral Tumblr posts reminded readers that introverts are tortured by small talk and portrayed extroverts as essentially mindless troglodytes."
Oh no, my worldview has been utterly decimated by BuzzFeed listicles. Are you kidding? Is this really what we've come to?
Take up a hobby. I recommend journalism.
Well, what destroyed Western civilization was BuzzFeed listicles telling people that introverts and extroverts exist? Are you kidding? I genuinely could not have conceived something this stupid. Oh no. I don't think people stopped having parties just as like number one, I don't think that happened. I think people got out of the habit of doing parties, and you know what? We'll get back to it. But also, I don't think that being told extroverts exist and introverts exist killed the ideas of parties. I don't think that happened. Imagine blaming BuzzFeed for anything in 2026, right? But the issue here is like, how do I formulate this thought? When you are trying to find a scapegoat for these problems and you have to go to BuzzFeed, the idea that some people don't want to socialize doesn't stop other people from socializing. Like that just that isn't like fundamentally the argument is just bad. Gotta say, we were talking about introverts and extroverts back in the 80s already. It does seem like perhaps this was not originally just, a millennial thing. Does seem like maybe other folks might exist. But, like, if the mere suggestion that introverts exist is enough to destroy your idea of a party, then maybe your parties were lame and shouldn't have been had in the first place. And I will say, again, I think much more likely the decline of partying is the decline in third spaces that people can actually go and party at. It's become harder to party. A lot of like even if you go to like New York City, one of the hubs of like party culture in the United States, you'll find that a lot of the clubs that used to exist in like the heyday of like clubbing throughout the last, 50 years or so, like a lot of those clubs have closed down. They've closed down because it became too expensive. The financial reality of running these venues became too expensive, too burdensome, and they shut down. Like our society influences this. It's not all in a vacuum. And the death of third spaces, even paid third spaces in a lot of places, has come at a cost for our socializing. What killed parties at my college was when that one friend was allowed to experiment with cocktails and mixed wild turkey, Smirnoff, and Mountain Dew. Oh God, oh God, oh God. COVID killed a lot of party culture. I mean, COVID definitely did exacerbate problems, right? Like COVID ended a lot of partying, but COVID wasn't that long. The major COVID era, it looms large in our consciousness, but it wasn't that long. It's not long enough to destroy the memory of parties. What it is long enough to do is put companies that need mass groups of people to turn out of business. So many of the venues that used to exist just no longer exist. And like many of the places that previously would have been free are now commodified, and like the people most likely to party are young people, and none of them have money to go and party. It's so expensive.
Online, reams of memes revel in canceling plans and spending a Saturday night in one's pajamas and glued to Netflix. COVID-19 only made things worse. Lockdowns got millions of people out of the habit of regular in-person social interaction, and the ultra-introverts suddenly had a moral justification for their unwillingness to socialize. And guys, I want you to know I will be the first to say that I am guilty of all of that. Like, I make all these jokes about laying down. I love being horizontal. I love being in my pajamas. I love being in my cozier pajamas on my Helix mattress. I talk about it. I love being a homebody and just hanging out with my animals and my husband. And I will admit that sometimes when I get a last minute cancellation text, I giggle with glee. Like it is the best news I have gotten all day long. But guys, even though I do that, like this is not how we build a healthy, thriving, fruitful society. Because for a lot of people, this now is not just a funny meme or a side thing they do on Friday nights. This drives how they view.
Also, can we just like throw out there that it is wild to me that now conservatives are like, why aren't you going out and partying? Everyone was partying back when I was a kid. And it's like, well, maybe they grew up in a conservative town where everyone told them if you go out and get pregnant, you're going to be like possibly investigated for murder if you don't carry that child to term. And also, it costs money to go out and you're dirt poor. And also, hey, you shouldn't drink. Like, underage drinking is bad. Like, yeah, a lot of these things influence whether or not people go and have parties. It's weird how that works, huh? My arguments are not being particularly, I'm being more verbose and wordy than I would normally be. I chalk it up to being tired. We've been going for 5.5 hours, and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. Sorry, 5:30 in the morning. Also, THC is legal, so more people are gonna get high and play Skyrim at 2 a.m. Hypothetically, yeah, hypothetically, yeah. This channel would never condone the consumption of marijuana products while playing Skyrim. That doesn't sound fun at all. That's, you know what? That sounds like it's anti-party culture. Maybe Skyrim killed party culture. The most dangerous drug of all.
Socialization. It is an inconvenience. It is awkward, maybe challenging for people. It actually forces you to get.
Oh god, if she blames porn for the decline of parties, she might genuinely do that. Oh god, she might genuinely do that. No. Oh, it's already so stupid. That is the one way that this would get way stupider.
Off your ass and do things rather than just opening Instagram DMs. Like, again, I will admit, often the most interaction I have with my friends is us just sending videos back and forth. Like, that's all we do. Like, Amir and I spend more time DMing each other than we do seeing each other in person. That's a problem, Amir. I'll see you tomorrow at my house. Anyway, the point is, after years of these attitudes and this digital-centric relationship building, we now have a generation, our generation primarily, that barely knows how to speak to each other. Another person on Reddit, which obviously is another digital alternative, so it's ironic that I'm using this comment, but this,
you know, at least you're aware of the hypocrisy. Which is more than most of her peers in the conservative talking headspace can lay claim to.
person made a great point, and he said this: there is a general sense of inhospitality. Striking up a conversation with people you don't know has become something of a
I heard THC and Perfect Blue is a great combination. It is a great combination.
Generational divide. Taboo even for younger folk. If even small talk and passing conversations are dying out, what are the odds of building something deeper with someone? If people go out with friends, they stick to their friends. They don't mingle at bars and clubs. If you're hooking up with somebody, it is rarely spontaneous. It is someone they met online. It's been planned out to meet somewhere in advance. And this is the most important part. When the social priority is on not causing other people discomfort over actually building connections with people, is there any surprise connections aren't being made? Now that last point is so astute, and we could make this whole thing just about dating and male-female relationships, you know, the fears of men and me too, but our entire society, our entire culture outside of this dating world has placed such an emphasis, and obviously we see this in politics every single day, but it's placed such an emphasis on not triggering anyone, on
Okay. There's such an emphasis on not being a raging asshole to people. I don't understand. Why can't society just put up with raging assholes? Oh, yeah, you can't go into a bar anymore and just shout the N-word and have everyone treat you like Norm from Cheers. That's tyranny to these people. Oh, God. Oh, God. Okay. Wokeness killed parties because you have to be considerate of other people's feelings. As opposed to in the past, where if you were inconsiderate of people's feelings, then you'd get your ass beat. Which was preferable, I guess? In her world? I don't know. I'm very confused.
Holding space and creating safe spaces and protecting our peace, whatever bullshit lines people are coming up with. And
also, can we just like take a moment where she's trying to defend like party culture, and the number one people most likely to be offended by parties are conservatives? Like, I like genuinely. How often have you heard conservatives complain about like how young people dance or how young people dress going to the club or whatever? Like, she would be first in line to condemn that. But oh no, it's everyone's woke these days, as if conservatives haven't been fear-mongering and clutching pearls about parties for the last century. God, remember when the movie Party Monster came out? About like 90s like rave culture? Like conservatives were hyperventilating over the parties that were being held in the 90s. Now she's like, why aren't people dancing anymore? It's like, because you don't like it when we dance. You said it was too sexy. Never heard of it? It's fine.
posting about. Like, no wonder a little normal awkwardness, discomfort, brushing shoulders at a bar or a party is sending people straight to therapy. And that is not an exaggeration. Now, in reply to that,
that's absolutely an exaggeration. I have never heard of someone going to therapy because they got bumped into by a stranger at a bar. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say something controversial yet brave. That has literally never happened. I know I'm going out on a limb here, but I don't think someone has ever gotten like knocked into or jostled at a bar and needed to talk about it in therapy.
comment somebody else said on Reddit, I actually think this is a huge point. Plus, more than discomfort, I think the internet provides connection, or at least a sense of it. Shit, I'm talking to you right now. But it's also way easier, way less pressure, no stakes, more interesting, no social anxiety, which increases actual social anxiety. The content is curtailed to me, and it doesn't necessarily need structure to make sense. Plus, small talk is non-existent, which, to this commenter, they say, has always been a huge waste of energy. Now, I would
Is she just reacting to like Reddit comments? Is that genuinely what she's doing here?
disagree with that. I think that small talk is how you build, have a good rapport, you make a joke. Sometimes the small talk then grows into something else. You kind of have to start with the awkward small talk. Unfortunately, that is just a normal human experience, Gen Z. Get over it. Anyway, this is the same conversation, guys, that we have had about AI relationships, for example, like time and time again. We are stripping the humanity out of our social lives. This beautiful awkwardness, the learning curves, the necessary skill of dating and flirting and small talk, all of that, thanks to the internet, is gone. You can live a life and have friends and
I mean, people still do small talk over text. That people still do that. You can read it happen all the time in online conversations.
talk to people without doing any of that. And so again, I say, like, how can you blame people? Like, when you live in a world that is as digital as ours, it makes sense that people retreat inwards, that they go online, that they choose the easier path. That is just what human beings do. So much of this, to Gen Z's credit, I'm giving a lot of grace here. Obviously, it is out of their control. But, and this is the point of this episode, we are not completely off the hook. Because it would be one thing if people were fine with the situation. It would be one thing if we didn't care, if chatting online was a one-for-one replacement and none of us actually felt lonely or isolated, but that is not the truth. I know it, and you know it. Young people, both men and women, are lonelier than ever. But the thing is, we have the tools to fix it. It's not radical. It's literally just going back to what we've always done before the last decade or so. But in more ways
Okay, but people were lonely prior to this decade. Just as an FYI, loneliness is a problem that has been on the rise steadily since like capitalism was introduced, because capitalism does basically puts us under a process called atomization, to summarize. So like what ends up happening is that when individuals are kind of isolated and separated, it leaves you more vulnerable to being sold stuff. Makes you more likely to define yourself based on consumption. And also, on top of that, it makes it easier for you to be moved around to different places in the economy, treat you like a cog in the machine, as it were. So you're able to be slotted in here at flipping burgers, or taken out and slotted in for running like middle management in a shoe company. I don't know. It makes you interchangeable, right? And that process benefits employers and makes it harder for you to work together as a community to advocate for better position, better pay, better agency, more political rights, etc. Like, that's important stuff, but corporations understand and capitalists understand that the only thing that can oppose their power is organized labor. And if you break down communities into just individuals, then it benefits them. That gives them more power. It makes it harder to organize against any abuse that they might send your way. This is why people have been becoming steadily lonelier, and why the third spaces that previously were free and available to all have increasingly been commodified. It is because, not because that there's some like grand conspiracy around this, by the way, but just because it serves capital interest for things to be this way. It makes them more money. It gives them more leverage. That's why this is happening.
Than one, we are coping. We are giving excuses and we are shooting ourselves in the damn.
Well, yeah, and private equity comes in and will buy things at a loss and run any corporations, any mom and pop stores out of business that are smaller in an effort to just like gut the entire community and loot it. You know?
Feet. Now, my friend Brittany actually pointed this out recently. She wrote a tweet just like 24 hours ago and said, I believe a lot of the loneliness epidemic is because we live in the generation of flakes. Before, you had to stay true to your word because if you were supposed to meet a friend at 1 p.m. for coffee and they were nowhere to be found, it was embarrassing. Now, people can cancel 5 minutes before via smartphones for self-care or any kind of random reason. Or if they don't respond for 3 days and are like, I'm so sorry, I'm just now seeing this, be for real, you are on your phone nonstop. I'm being attacked. Okay, moving on. I think a lot of the loneliness epidemic is self-inflicted. You should be going out and doing things. I always tell my husband if he is invited somewhere, go, because every single time, without fail, you meet somebody cool. It is always worth it to go out. Everything she said is so correct. And again, I am far from innocent. This episode is as much about me as it is about the rest of my generation. Like, I retreat inward. I do not read text messages. I drag my feet on confirming plans because I'm like, I don't know. Do I really want to leave my bed? Do I want to get off my couch and take my baby? Whatever. I do it all. And you know what? It makes me feel like shit. It really does, because I know that it is not the respectful thing to do. I know that I should and can be better. And I know that if I want to have a full life with community and great friends and a big, wonderful circle of wonderful, smart, great people, I know that you have to lean in and respond and partake and initiate. You have to help build the village that you want to see. And showing up when people are reaching out and trying to make plans is a start, but it is truly the bare minimum. Like, the better thing to do would be to show up with a good rancher steak. Now, as
Hey, what an ad segue. I will say, though, what she's saying there is correct. It does take work to build and maintain relationships, and we do not teach that work explicitly in school. So what winds up happening is a lot of kids grow up with friends of convenience that they haven't cultivated like a closer relationship with. And then they fall away as soon as like kids go off to college or what have you. Like this also applies for, you know, college grads entering the workforce and being away from their college friends. It takes effort and it takes work to cultivate those relationships, keep them going, and like, you know, perpetuate your friend group. And I will say that is good advice. If you want to build a friend group, if you are lonely, then you have to put yourself out there and you have to like show up for other people. You have to be out in the world and you have to show up. And that will make you friends. But again, this is just a lot of folks are bad at that, I think.
America turns 250 years old this year, everyone is going to be talking about our country's greatest milestones, but I want to take it a step further. I want to, with this platform, this company, stopping you from throwing that party. All right, now this is her thesis. Emma writes, I'm in my 20s and I'm here to tell you, loneliness isn't an epidemic, it is a choice. My generation has decided that avoiding embarrassment or rejection is more important than developing a thriving social circle. The main social obstacle facing Gen...
I mean, I also think that the main obstacle for Gen Z is that, like, there's a reason why Gen Z hasn't developed these skills. And a lot of the reason is, frankly, they don't have time. A lot of Gen Z folks are busy. They are having to hustle in order to make ends meet. It's difficult out there. The economy is not doing great. And it turns out, like, yeah, you are having to work real hard to stay housed. And that work comes at a cost for your energy, comes at a cost for your time availability to socialize. Gen Z is terrified of seeming cringe or foolish. I don't think that's true. I feel like Gen Z has really embraced cringe. I just think that Gen Z has it rough. And this idea that like, oh, you just have to man up and go out there and socialize. I don't like or agree with that take necessarily, because I think that ultimately the solution to our problems, while it does require us to do work, we also need to recognize that there are physical and mental limitations to what we can do. And sometimes you need to rest. Like, just straight up. Like, sometimes you need to take that nap because you're so busy and you only got 3 hours of sleep. And, you know, you needed to you needed to fall asleep for a little bit in order to continue to function. You know, I'm not saying as if this happened to me like yesterday or maybe the day before, but that did happen to me. And I think maybe a lot of folks are struggling with how busy they are.
Zers isn't social media or overstimulation, it is their own trepidation. In this article, she goes on to share that through her own sheer will to build community and create this great group of friends, she has had to herself fight through discomfort and vulnerability and the stigma over being too eager and too excited. She writes, "It was not destined to be this way. I didn't have a big and active social circle until well into college. I had to learn how to party well through trial and error. And more important than my ability to shake a cocktail or set a dinner table was my development of a thick social skin. I've stopped caring about whether I come off as too eager or too much when seeking new friendships, nor do I trouble myself much with the invites I send out that go ignored." Teenage Emma would hardly recognize this adult version of herself. She then goes on and says that making friends entails social risk. "I probably annoyed some prospective guests by peppering them with invitations. Others might have found my eagerness to swap numbers off-putting."
I mean, this is true. You do have to put out a lot of energy in order to develop friendships. It's true.
"Oh well, I can't find another 100 people to invite to my house without a little embarrassment." The way out of this supposed epidemic is for young people to show a modicum of social bravery. A life spent trying to be cool and unrejectable is inevitably going to be a small and lonely one. We cannot let fear of rejection overwhelm us. A life full of friendship and great parties is waiting for you. Don't be afraid. All you have to do is ask. Now, obviously, before everybody starts commenting, I have some compassion here. I get it.
You know, that's actually a really good point, Monocle Squid. Everyone in Gen Z is working different schedules, which also fucks everything up. Working hours used to be much more consistent around the board. That's true. You know, everyone would get off work at a certain time, and you'd be able to hang out with the people you know, regardless of what company they worked for. And like, nowadays, you know, we have people working nights, we got people working days, we got people working, you know, odd jobs as like drivers or delivery people. You know, we got a lot of folks with no set schedule. Gig work has really done a number on the economy and changed fundamentally how a lot of labor is done in this country. And so, like, that's a very good point. The scheduling is just like a basic problem, but it is, you know, I just thinking about the mental image of the calendar and all the days I've been, you know, trying to make D&D work for my home group, and it just has not worked out, along with a lot of other commitments that I've tried to make, just because shit's busy, and scheduling things in particular is very difficult.
All of this is easier said than done, but also, yeah, at some point, this is a choice that Gen Z is making. It is a decision that we are consciously making. And the only way that we will get over this or get through it is by starting and doing. You build community by building and by hosting and inviting, and you become a good host by hosting. Every great thing in life is built by simply doing. And so at some point, you gotta get over the hump and just start. And unfortunately, like so many things in our culture, all of that seems to have fallen.
Again, I do have to agree with her. There is an element of you just gotta do it. You know, at some point, like, other people can't hold your hand. You have to take your steps. You know, once you know what to do and how to do it, all that remains is to just fucking do it. So she is correct about that.
To the wayside, because doing and starting all of those things, it requires vulnerability, and it comes with a side, obviously, of rejection and flaky friends, and yes, heartbreak when things do not turn out well, because in my opinion and in my experience, losing friends is an even greater heartbreak than losing a romantic relationship if you have worked so hard and dedicated time and created a wonderful connection. So no wonder, in large part, we have turned our backs on all of this. Now, in regards to that, this commenter, again, on Reddit, really hit the nail on the head. This is all in the same thread. This guy said, "Nothing has changed other than society. People are not social anymore. I personally am, but people look at me like an alien for just trying to have a conversation. We are human beings. We are supposed to connect socially. This is also a reminder that social anxiety is a mental issue, not a personality trait." Say that louder for the folks in the back. It is not something you're supposed to just say, "Oh, I have social anxiety, so I'll just never talk to anyone." No, you are meant to work through it like a phobia. It is a challenge. It is not something you are supposed to just accept.
I mean, you can certainly work on your anxiety response, and you can try and improve that, but also it is not just something you can like pressure through sometimes, because sometimes it's an involuntary response. Like anxiety, I have an anxiety disorder. So sometimes I can just power through it and like I'll just need some recovery time after I power through, but it's totally fine. But the issue is sometimes if you are just trying to power through, you take a little bit too much damage. And what winds up happening is something called a panic attack, which is overwhelming waves of anxiety as your body experiences its fight or flight being kicked into high gear. And you don't have control over whether or not you are having a panic attack. You just don't. So, like, this idea that it's like, oh, it's just something to be overcome. Like, it's like saying that to someone who's having an epileptic seizure. And you're like, well, just get up and walk, bro. Like, just mind over matter, that shit. Like, you can't do that. Like, that, it doesn't work that way. When you're in a panic attack, you're in a panic attack. And you gotta do what you gotta do to calm down, you know? I've found personally that like deep breathing exercises helps to activate the front part of your brain instead of the lizard brain in the back. But just like just doing a little bit of that can really change the flow of your second to second experience of emotions. But that's not a foolproof way of doing it, you know? You can't just like will yourself to not have a panic attack. You can work on it. You can build up your resistance to having a panic attack. You can do things to help. But this idea that like, no, I just have social anxiety, I just won't talk to anyone. You shouldn't be using your anxiety as a crutch to enable your own loneliness. But it's okay to acknowledge you have social anxiety, and in some cases that might prevent you from doing things.
Being the most socially anxious person I've ever seen, to the point where I was scared to leave my bedroom, to being quite literally the only one to ever initiate a conversation in public no matter where I am. Over-reliance on technology to form social and relationship bonds instead of face-to-face has and is still actively ruining our society. I love this generation for a lot of reasons, but we are easily the weakest socially, and that is putting it mildly. Again, I feel like I've done so many episodes at this point talking about dating and how, in my opinion, so much of it goes back to the fact that we don't know how to date. Obviously, there are political layers and men versus women, all of those things, but I think
obviously there are political layers. Yeah, I mean, at this point, if you are out there saying you're MAGA, like, yeah, people are going to assume that you're the fucking creep who put masked men with guns on their streets. Like, oh yeah, that's gonna really endear you to other people who you prospectively want to smooch.
Large part, women do not know how to flirt or receive flirting or receive the signs from men. Men don't know how to flirt. Like, we're all just floundering around like a bunch of, I don't know what kind of animal, but we're stumbling around blind. And it is even true when we're talking about making friends. Now, even though all of that is true, from everything that I see on social media, that I experience in my own life, people are still yearning for in-person real connections. Like, we are not satisfied with the online hubs that we've created, and we romanticize, every single day I see it, we romanticize a time without social media. In fact, one recent article that was written about 90s nostalgia, which I think in large part was inspired by that new FX series love story about JFK Jr. and his wife Carolyn. Anyway, it's just a whole thing that's pulling up right now. But this article reads, part of the allure of the 1990s is longing for the days when we were a monoculture, a world before the fractured.
Also, the 1990s, the United States wasn't a monoculture. Again, like, when you're reading one of these essays, right? Understand that the New York Times is full of shit. America was far from a monoculture in the 90s. Like, you're just talking about the neoliberalism. You're just talking about the neoliberalism and, like, color blindness. This isn't like, oh, the United States was homogenous in the 1990s. No, it wasn't. Shut the fuck up. Like, genuinely.
Intake of smartphones, a time defined by, retrospectively, a comforting reality in which we experienced many of the same things at the same time. But I think there's more to it. What New York, or the fantasy of it, offered in the late 90s, again talking about this series, was an outsized version of what so many of us are craving now. The promise of real-life connection mixed with the potential of wealth, beauty, and love. And here's the thing, my friends, we can still have that, despite New York City being a shithole, obviously, but the bones of that kind of culture and those relationships, they are still there. And at some point, it honestly is just up to us to do something about it. So obviously, then we are left with what is the solution? Now, going back to both of Emma's articles, in her opinion, and also in my opinion, the solution is quite simple. All hope is not lost. If my case is any proof, partying is a teachable skill. Again, you learn.
Yes, all social engagement is a teachable skill. That is correct.
By doing. You might not be a party person, and the idea of having a house full of revelers might sound daunting, expensive, or mathematically improbable. When I recently told an acquaintance that I had invited 100 people to a party, he replied, I don't even know 100 people, which is fair, but I promise it can be accomplished. The best way to reverse the steady social decline gripping American life is to throw a good...
Also, I'm sorry, if you invited 100 people somewhere, you have space, you have time, and you have the money to do these things. Like, I'm that requires a unique set of circumstances.
Party next weekend, if possible. And honestly, guys, I think that you should do exactly that. I think that we all should. So I am hereby challenging everybody who is watching this video to invite people over. It does not have to be, it does not have to be 100 people like our overachiever friend Emma, but invite people to do something. And after you do that, you're gonna...
Also, just invite your friends over to do a LAN party. Like, hook up Halo 3 and do a LAN party together, alright? You can do it. I believe in you guys. Your ingenuity, your old hardware, I believe in it. I think you can do it.
Send an email to podcast@brettcoopershow.com and you're going to tell me what you are doing. And I'm going to live vicariously through you and we are going to celebrate you all for doing that. And oh my gosh, like I know the excuses will roll in because in light of Emma's op-ed, I have already seen them everywhere on social media. Like one person said, and which room should my 2-bedroom flats party be in? One of the bedrooms, the bathroom, or the kitchen that only fits 2 people at a time. Like people! My response to this is like, did you really take out at least 5 figures in student loans and learn nothing from college? Like you can have 5 people, a Domino's pizza, Quiplash on the TV, some White Claws in a dorm room, and have the most epic party.
Oh, okay. So by party, do you just mean like having over like your immediate friend group? Because like in my head, I've been picturing like a party for like 50 plus people. You just talked about a party for over 100 people being planned. If you're just saying like have like 5 people over to like watch a movie, that's not a I don't really think that's really a party per se. But okay, you know, have some people over, watch Lord of the Rings. Wait, like a barbecue? Yeah.
Of the year. Like, have we lost a love of
Yeah, you're describing chill leftist D&D night, exactly.
Game nights, an appreciation for movie nights? Actually, I will answer my own question. Obviously, we have. And I think in large part, that again goes back...
I just don't think that that's exactly the same as partying. Like, when you say partying, watching Netflix isn't really the top of the list of activities that's happening.
To social media because like so many of you, I'm sure, I am also inundated on my TikTok and Instagram with posts about perfectly styled dinner parties and elaborate birthday parties and highly curated events. Maybe that's just my algorithm. Maybe you're like, Brett, I have never seen one of those videos in my life, but that is what I see on a daily basis. Regardless, and this just goes back to one of the common pitfalls of social media, but it is incredibly easy to see what people present on social media and believe that that is normal or expected and that you won't be able to live up to that. And that, of course, then causes more insecurity about the size of your space or how much money you have to spend on an event.
Look, it's not the size of your space, it's how you use it.
Other people will be impressed. And oh my gosh, I cannot even tell you guys how many times Alex has had to talk me off a ledge when I am inviting people over or planning a party because I'm worried that our guests will hate my cooking or that my cake looks like crap or that our house isn't clean enough or it isn't big enough and the bathroom doesn't look cool enough because we never put the wallpaper up that I wanted to put up or I don't have enough activities planned and nobody's gonna talk about anything. And guess what? Even though I will cry over that, like I'm embarrassed to admit that I literally might have like an emotional breakdown before people come over, it always turns out fine. It's okay. And the world keeps spinning and over time you get better and better, not just at hosting and bringing people together, but also being sure of yourself in playing that role within your community. And what I'm really trying to say is that throwing a party or having people over, building community, it does not have to be Instagrammable and aesthetic and perfectly curated. And honestly, it really shouldn't be. You shouldn't be inviting people over just to have fodder for your Instagram story. But still, regardless of that, people continue to push back. Under another TikTok...
I mean, I guess not, but like, what kind of... I'm just trying to wrap my head around the idea of someone living a life where they would throw a party to make it look to make themselves look better on Instagram. Like, I can imagine someone who is extraordinarily wealthy doing that, but like, I don't know. I don't know about that happening for anyone who's like not inheriting like $10 million when their parents croak. You know what I mean?
Talk on the same topic. Somebody said hosting is a lost art, and then somebody else replied and said, literally, especially in this economy. And again, I know, and obviously the economy is a huge issue. Donald Trump, please help us. But I swear, like up there with the lack of social skills is Gen Z's lack of problem solving and resolve, because this is an easy problem to address. Again, Domino's Pizza, $15, $3 Trader Joe's wine, 4 friends, baby, you have yourself a party. There is no excuse. But okay, let's say maybe that you do want to do more. Say you want to host it.
I'm sorry, did she say $3 in Trader Joe's wine?
Domino's Pizza, $15, $3 Trader Joe's wine, 4.
I'm sorry, you're inviting people over and you have one single bottle of Trader Joe's wine that you got for $3? You're gonna need more than that if you're inviting people over.
Friends, baby, you have yourself a party. There is no excuse. But okay, let's say maybe that you do want to do more. Say you want to host a dinner party. Seems daunting. It's not in the budget. What if you could do it for under $100? Which brings me to one of my very favorite series on the internet. Just watch.
Tonight, I'm on a mission to host a summer dinner party under $100, feeding a family-style meal to 6 people and including dessert, wine, and florals. You guys loved my last one so much that I had to go for round 2. First stop is Trader Joe's, where I carefully budgeted out tonight's menu, which is going to be Greek-inspired. What I really love about this menu is that most of it can actually be prepped the night before, which I never really do, but it made hosting the day of so much less stressful. I did leave some room in the budget for florals. These filler flowers arranged in a bunch of bud vases are my best friend when I don't want to spend much but still want a full, beautiful table.
So there you go. You get the point. She budgeted it out. She went to Trader Joe's. She planned the whole thing. And obviously,
Okay, counterpoint. That sounds like an awful lot of work that you have to do after already doing a lot of work to get through your day. Like, okay, assuming you can afford the $100 and it's not a problem, which is a big assumption. But like, that you're still needing a lot of time and energy to actually go through the work of making the meal and also like getting the stuff for the party, setting it up. Like, there's a lot of logistical work going on here, which is fine, but saying everyone should be able to do this or should be interested in doing this at all times seems a bit much to me.
because it's the internet, there are always people in this girl's comment section being like, what if I don't have the plates? I can't do this, whatever. Thrift stores, go to Goodwill, buy adorable little like vintage china plates, thrift some wine.
That's true. Good advice. More people need to go to thrift stores. I literally got a comment on this zip up sweatshirt earlier tonight. Thrift store. It's just thrift stores, baby. Like, they will solve so many of your problems.
Wine glasses, whatever it may be. Oh, I don't have the right things to cook with, and cook something simple. Like, genuinely, some of the most fun nights I have ever had have just been like, again, pizza, sitting on the floor, wings, super easy to make, super easy to order. It does not have to be so complicated. And if you don't have a Trader Joe's near you, girl, I can relate. I don't have one near me either, but get your butt to Walmart or Kroger or Aldi. It does not have to be expensive. You might just come in under budget. But the point is, I see all of these excuses, and I'm just like, Gen Z is coping. There are obviously barriers. We obviously were not taught to socialize in the way that other generations were. We lost out on a lot of that in large part thanks to our government and ridiculous people in our culture. But these are barriers that, in my opinion, are very easily broken down. So again, your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to throw a party. I literally threw one last week that we planned in like 3 days. It was my mom's birthday party. It was a random assortment of friends.
You planned your mom's birthday party in 3 days at the last minute? I'm sorry. What?
Friends and coworkers and neighbors we hadn't met. I spent $15 on lanterns from Amazon, and we hired an at-home hibachi man. And oh my God, it was one of the most fun nights I have had in a long time.
You hired an at-home hibachi man? I love how she's like, I spent $3, and then we hired, just out of curiosity, oh, how much does hibachi catering cost? An easy breakdown. Excellent. One number affects the price is the number of guests. More guests you have, the more food and chefs you will possibly need. Okay. What's price per person? typically between $50 and $70 per adult or more, depending on factors mentioned above. Let's just say $50 if it's a cheap hibachi chef, I guess. But if you have like 10 people coming, that's $500. like minimum. I feel like that's a big number to leave out.
And guys, I will do it again just to partake.
We planned it in 3 days, spent half of $1,000, and I spent $3 on lanterns. It was only $3. It was one of the best parties we've ever had.
Taking this challenge with you guys. And I do want to say that if you are somebody who is always an attendee, if you do show up, if you don't flake, but you are never an organizer or a host, maybe try to take on a different role for once, because from the conversations I have had with friends, let me tell you, the hosts do get tired of being the backbone of your community, so just keep that in mind the next time you accept one of their invitations. But guys, like throwing a party and hosting, like Brittany was saying, it is not the full solution, because to really turn things around, you do have to be a team player in your social life. You have
to be a communist in your social life, but a capitalist in your economic life. Otherwise, we'll get you.
Have to be a villager in order to be in the village and benefit from the village. And so if you're somebody who doesn't like to host or doesn't know how and isn't ready to take that hurdle, if you are in a season where you really can't offer much, which I totally understand, like the bare minimum, the great thing that you can do is literally just show up and partake and not flake, really just not flake, because building community, it is not for the weak in 2026, especially for young people. So we should respect and celebrate the people that are trying, and we should do everything in our power to lean into this, because I really think it could help save our culture.
Hi, guys.
That's right, we need to save our culture by partying. So, we've organized the biggest party to ever happen in America. That's right, we invited everyone to show up to a local gymnasium and the singular ball pit. We hope this goes well. That was a reference that some of you might be old enough to understand. I like that Brett Cooper's big idea for fixing what she thinks is an existential problem to American culture, and specifically Gen Z. And her solution is, just do it, stupid. And that's it. That was it. That was the number one solution here was just do it anyway, even if it's hard. Which, honestly, I'm going to say something controversial here. Sometimes you need to do hard things for your own good and for the good of other people. And we should get more in the habit of doing hard things. And I can't believe that I am agreeing to that extent with Brett Cooper. But all that being said, folks, what do you think? Let me know down in the comments. Let me know about the sick parties you've been planning. And also, get organized, folks. Join your local Dems. Join your local DSA. Radicalize your Dems. Make your DSA more effective. And folks, last but not least, check out ImogeneOlivia.com. Gender euphoric lingerie designed from the ground up for trans femmes. Tested with cis men, cis women, non-binary folks. It is comfortable, non-tucking lingerie. Very cute, very sexy. Go check it out. New colors and styles coming in soon. Link down in the doobly-doo, and let's keep on going.
Riverboat Jack is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube is where she streams. All that content is bursting the seams. Politics, dating, and plenty more. Her sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord. Riverboat Jack.